And a good spiritual morning to you once again. Thanks for joining us today for a quick chat. And of course, our morning cup of coffee.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. We hope you are having a wonderful day.
Absolutely. And we're starting with a little infomercial.
Yeah, let's do a commercial, Father.
Commercial break.
It's a sweet thing.
Yeah, we don't have any sponsorships, but we have, I've got a special mug here and it says Volente on it. And it's a coffee that's put out, and it says in the back, what's it say here? Coffee with a Mission. So this is actually coffee that's put out by Modesto Gospel Mission,
which is a charity that our
local
parish
charity
donates
that we
to a lot.
support.
Yeah.
And actually a shout out to Arahepa, which has purchased or is planning on purchasing a year's worth of coffee for all of the coffee that we use at our church. They're getting it from Gospel Mission. And so this is coffee. You can go online and just type in Modesto Gospel Mission or Volente coffee, and you can order it. And all the proceeds go to benefit Modesto Gospel Mission. And they're
help
also,
a lot of
it's
people.
kind of like a work program where they're also sort of giving skills to people to show them in business and in coffee making and in marketing and certain things, how to be able to reenter society in a productive way, giving them life skills so that they can benefit. And all the proceeds benefit Modesto Gospel Mission.
Yeah.
So
they do wonderful things for
shout out to
families and
that.
children.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're trying to promote them, give them a little shout
That's
out
what
for
the mug is for today.
Absolutely. And
Where are we at in Lent, Father?
well, we're reflecting back again. I think this week we'll reflect back and maybe forward on Thursday. Because Holy Week is coming up pretty quick, and we want to spend next week talking a little bit about Holy Week. But for today, last Sunday, we're going to talk about last Sunday. It's the fourth Sunday of Lent. And on that day, we always remember St. John of the Ladder, St. John Climacus.
it's
the
a powerful
author,
icon.
Yeah, the author of The Ladder of Divine Ascent. Yeah, if you look at the icon, powerful / terrifying. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Icons have, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
right.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's all right. I'm used to
It's
that.
early.
You do that all the time. So we're thinking about St. John of the Ladder. So St. John is writing. He's one of the desert fathers, one of the monastic fathers. But he's not one of the early fathers. He's a little bit later on. And he's writing this sort of work because he's worried that the sort of treasure trove of asceticism, of monastic wisdom is being lost. So he writes The Ladder of Divine Ascent. And it's 30 steps, basically, on the spiritual life, on how to get closer to Christ. And
So it's originally written for people becoming monastics.
Written for monastics.
Okay.
It's written for ascetics. But so that's why people it's a very popular book and it's available. And people say, well, I'm going to buy that and read it. And I usually say, don't do that. Don't
Listen to your parish
don't,
priest.
Don't jump right into that. You would be better off buying a book that talks about that. One of the ones that I recommend is one called 30 Steps to Heaven. It's by Papa Vasiliu. And you can get that one. I think it's on Amazon.
Oh, yeah, you can get it.
You can get that
order
one.
it.
So that is kind of discussing the original text.
Yeah, we need somebody who's digested it.
But yeah,
right?
digesting it, making it relevant for us as lay people. By lay people, I mean, okay, I'm not a
All
lay
of
person,
us,
but
but yeah.
people that aren't ascetics, aren't living out in the desert, right? So, I don't recommend you just go buy The Ladder of Divine Ascent and try to read it. It's pretty dense, and it's not written for you. It's written for people leaving the world and living their lives out in a cave in the desert.
Could you imagine he was worried back then that we were losing true?
Well, because the
true
golden age of
life.
asceticism, if you're thinking about, Isaac of Nineveh, Isaac the Syrian, Ephraim the Syrian, Anthony the Great, is like the 300s, so the 4th century. I think he's living in the 600s or 6th century.
Okay.
So he's couple hundred years later on, maybe the 7th century. And by that time, he's worried because you're a
imagine?
couple of centuries out, and here we are,
1,400 years later.
2025. We got no shot. We're way out. We're way out.
Please pray for us, St. John.
So, but to talk about it, I mean, I think what I always think about when I think about the Ladder of Divine Ascent is we sort of don't really understand the process by which we're trying to ascend and get to Christ. Because you'd think,
have no idea.
well, the first step has got to be something like love or faith, hope, faith, and love, right? Father, is that step 1, 2, and 3? Yeah. No, those are together. That's step 30.
Can you imagine?
That's the last step, right? The first steps, the first 3 kind of go together, and they're basically on breaking with the world. right? It's renunciation, detachment, and exile.
Because they're leaving the world to go to a monastery.
Right. So they're physically leaving the world. But for us, it's not being worldly, right? It's the first steps on trying to get anywhere in the spiritual life, trying to get any way closer to Christ. You've got to break with this world. You've got to not be worldly. You've got to not, in other words, prioritize this world before the next world. And we do that all the time. We think that we have to be happy and fulfilled here because, we're trying to make this heaven.
We're trying to be comfortable, let's be honest.
This is not heaven.
Yeah.
This is by far
not the goal.
No, the goal is, to recognize, okay, this isn't where I'm meant to be. And so I can renounce this place. I can then learn how to detach a little bit. Then I feel in exile. In other words, this isn't my real home. Yeah. My real home is up there with him.
Yeah.
It's, and that's where I want to be.
And the more you do it, the more you realize how you don't like the way the world is going anyway. So it's really interesting. You have to detach a little bit so you can see the perspective of like, wow, there's a lot of messed up stuff that I don't want or that I can't live my faith out if I'm part of.
Right. And that's the difficulty. People sort of have a hard time understanding why the world is the way. And we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Why the world is because this isn't heaven. This isn't the way that we were meant to live. We're meant to be one with God, one with Christ, one with each other, one with all creation. That's only going to happen in the kingdom. That's not going to happen here. I don't care how much you try, you're not going to make this heaven. Now, that doesn't mean we don't try to improve the world. It doesn't mean that we're not going to live it, be in the world.
Yeah, that we don't have glimpses of paradise.
Yeah, there's beauty here.
Yeah.
And there's love here. And I'm not saying you have to sell everything and go and live in the desert.
Right.
In order to renounce the world or detach. But you can't serve God and mammon, right? You can't serve God and worldly riches and money. Yeah. You can only have one master. So that the idea is the first way, and then people, I say, there's 30 steps. What step do you think you're on? People are saying, I don't know, like halfway there, maybe a third of the way. I'm like on 7. You're not on 7.
I'm still on the ground.
You don't even have a foot on the ladder.
Yeah.
If you want to pick up your foot and put a foot on the ladder, you have to say, God is my master. Christ is my master. That's what I'm worrying more about. So I'm still living in the world, but I'm not being of the world.
Father, I think the ladder's a wonderful thing for me because ladders are scary for a lot of people.
Especially ones with 30 steps.
Yeah, ladders are quite frightening.
Pretty far up there.
Yeah. If you've ever put your Christmas lights on a 2-story house, you know that we did that for many years. It's scary. So we don't want to take the first step because it's scary and it's unknown and we don't know if it's safe and we don't know if we're going to like it and we don't know how we're going to feel. So there's that, is it
fear.
Angst? Fear or trembling of how do I start doing that? But I like what you said. We don't have to sell our home, but maybe we don't have to put all of our energy into like our Pottery Barn chairs and our Hobby Lobby this. And I'm just talking
weekly
as a
visits to Target to be able to buy stuff that we don't need just to
the latest ottoman. Yeah.
And you're picking on certain, it's just.
I'm picking on people my age.
You're picking on your house too.
Yeah, true.
It's just a matter of priorities. It's just a matter of what we value and saying, okay, I'm on a spiritual journey. And like you're saying, there's a reason that the metaphor is an ascension.
Yeah.
That we're trying to get to heaven. So obviously there's some kind of a going upward motion and that it's not 3 steps. Anybody can do 3 steps.
30 steps.
But, 30 steps. And think about the analogy, again, it's time sensitive somewhat. When they're writing this way back when, they don't have fiberglass, aluminum. Have you been on a 30-step wooden ladder?
Rickety ladder.
I mean, I can remember when I was younger, we had a bunch of ladders we would do work all the time. And I think we had like a 10-foot wooden ladder. It was an A-frame, one of the ones like this.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it was so old and loose that it would move. And I can remember my father standing on the top, which of course you're never supposed to go like even within a rung or 2 of the top rung. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we would be like picking something. We'd pick olives a lot because he would cure his own olives. I had have a good Greek father. But my dad had no fear of heights at all, no fear of climbing trees, no fear. And he would be standing on the top of that thing. And he would be like moving back and forth like this, working and doing stuff. It's like, it's like you're saying, it's scary to have that image or that metaphor of having climbed up. So there is fear. But in order to put your foot on there, you have to start leaving the world. Yeah. If you're going to go up, that means you're leaving the ground. you can't put your foot 30 steps up and keep one foot on the ground. So you have to leave the ground to go. You have to leave the world behind in order to go to heaven.
When we were doing the Christmas lights a couple of years ago, well, it's been a while now, but I remember the kids were laughing because they didn't think I could do it. And this is my metaphor, the only way I could literally get up to the roof of our old house is I couldn't look down.
Of course.
So I would go up. I couldn't look back. If the kids were talking to me, I'd be like, I'm not looking at you. I could go up and then I could go back down as long as I didn't look behind me, which is something that I should apply to my spiritual life.
That's the whole metaphor,
right?
Kind of.
Because in the icon, Christ is at the top waiting for me. At the top in the icon, at the top of the ladder is Christ.
And Christ is also on every step with us. Like that's part of the beauty of it. Like it's like there's OSHA. Christ is OSHA. There's OSHA regulations. You're harnessed up so that you can't fall. Christ is on the step with you, whatever step you're on, but he's also waiting at the top. And so there's that idea that as, again, a take home for us right now in Lent, we have to think, okay, I'm fasting. Part of what I'm trying to do to fast is to break with the world, is to realize I can give up some stuff, whatever it is. Maybe some of it's food. Maybe some of it's finding some more stillness. You're giving up some TV time. Maybe you're not shopping as much. You're not spending as much money. Maybe Amazon isn't at your house dropping off boxes every other day. You're fasting, and in that way, you're breaking a little bit with the world, with being worldly. And in order to be able to start climbing that ladder, that's the first process spiritually. I've got to break with this world. And say, no, I don't need that thing. I don't have to spend time on that. I don't have to spend money on that. I can worry more about my salvation. I can see Christ and I can try to ascend to him. And I can know that I'm all strapped in. I'm harnessed up. I'm not going to fall because he's on the step with me.
Keep him with you, yeah.
And he's also, the goal that I'm trying to get to. And so in the spiritual life, we have to start somewhere to lift our foot up and put the foot our first step up on the ladder.
And you can't climb a ladder with luggage.
No, you can't.
Let's be honest.
It's really hard to.
Yeah, you can't.
I'll give you another metaphor. This isn't a 2-story metaphor. This is a 1-story house. But I remember roofing a 1-story house when I was younger. I was high school age. And I remember carrying up the shingles. That was not fun. It's not fun to carry up shingles. Now, so this is only 12 steps probably to get to the top of a 1-story house. But those are 90-pound packs of asphalt shingles that you're carrying. And I can remember having cleared the roof, gotten everything off, got it down to the plywood, and then carrying up the rolls of the paper, but then carrying up the packs of the shingles. It's not fun even to go up 10 steps.
You're saying you had them on your shoulders and going up the ladder?
Yeah, I had a pack. You have a pack of shingle on your shoulders. They're 90 pounds. And with the other hand, you're grabbing and going up so you only have one hand on. By the end, you get to a point where you don't have to hold on. Like you get to a point where you start and you're just holding and you're just kind of going up. But it's not easy.
That's why your back's out.
That's why I have a bad back. But it's not easy.
We're not meant to carry things with us.
No, and the likelihood that you're going to have a horrifying accident is pretty bad, or at the very least. So yeah, this idea that you don't carry baggage up. You have to leave
Letting go.
You have to leave the world. You have to let worldly stuff go and prioritize Christ and put Christ first. And know that, I'm trying to get to him. That's the whole goal of the spiritual life. That's the whole goal of life, period, is trying to get closer to Christ because that's, what heaven is. And that's eternity. That's forever. And so I'm living my life in that way with this image of the ladder in my head, trying to get closer and closer to Christ and doing that each and every day.
Amen.